adapted and improved your production, your presentation, you learned what you're doing, you added things as you went along. That all comes with practice, and you get better and better by doing it. But that authenticity is either there or not there, and it all starts with passion for the topic, and you can't fake that. Unless you're a
Yep.
really good actor or actress, I mean, it's very difficult to fake that. So you're much better, and you'll find that audience. You think it's too niche? No. And I told Mark this. Mark first started doing sports, he was kind of general sports, and we had a conversation a couple years in, and he wasn't really gaining the traction that he wanted to gain. I said, Mark, really, what you're really passionate about is college football, right? Well, niche down to that. Talk about that. You're doing.
I forgot about that.
No barking.
There we go. Okay.
There we are.
Oh, really?
LinkedIn, there's a huge delay
Yeah,
because
there is.
there's like probably 25 to 30-second delay.
Oh, on LinkedIn?
Yeah, from the time I switched the video.
Hmm.
Because it's showing Paul and Tess, and I switched off of that a bit ago.
Oh, I see Brad on Facebook. And Carlos. Andrew, thanks for the like. I see that. You snuck in there.
Yeah, let's share it out. I'm getting it out there now.
PTZ Optics in the house. That's our guest, Paul and Tess.
And we got the Discord chat up. Those Joe is Zahitis is holding down the Discord chat.
There we go.
Okay, so all the other platforms are up and running. Everything's up and good.
Yep. Welcome, Lindsay, on Facebook.
Okay. I think we are. I think we're good with that. And
Yes, it is Thursday. Hey, Rudy.
yeah, I got a few new toys this week I've been playing with.
You know what? You got the
Stream
what did you
Deck.
get? You got the Stream Deck, right?
Oh yeah,
I saw that. Nice.
there's some new stuff coming for that, plus other ways
You
that
get
I'm
all the
using
you
it.
get all the cool toys over there.
I got buttons galore in front of me.
More buttons. That's all you need.
More buttons. More buttons. More. That's okay though, because it I'm centralizing a lot of stuff, so it's making it a little bit easier to do the things that I do. You know what? And when my daughter had her sleepover, and the girls were down here, and the one girl that didn't want to be on camera, she was like, "Well, I'll be the producer." She sat down here, and I was showing her, "Well, this button does this, and this button does that, and if you press this, it'll change that." She was picking it up as she was going, and I said, "So, do you feel like intimidated that you have all these buttons that you can push?" She's like, "The more buttons, the better." I was like,
More buttons, the better.
"Okay,
That's great.
all right." She was not like,
Love those buttons.
she was just like pushing buttons. Oh, that's what that does. She's moving
That's
this.
fantastic.
So
Usually it's the opposite. It's good to see the younger generation likes the complexity
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
You can do. Yeah.
So it'll be so guys that are joining us, we have Paul and Tess from Stream Geeks and PTZ Optics. They're joining us today to talk about the upcoming conference that they have, as well as Paul's and Tess are gonna talk a little bit about the PTZ Optics cameras, as well as we did a giveaway a couple weeks ago on the USB webcam, and you guys heard how I thought it was probably one of the best webcams out there for the price. We're gonna talk a little bit about that to hopefully help you understand why PTZ cameras come in, why you may want to think about one, those types of things. And Paul's got some cool stuff that he's going to show that have to do with education. So that's what's coming up. Marty also we're going to try to pack this into a half an hour, but Marty has some cool stuff because he was on location last week in Atlanta.
Yep.
and so you're going to show
Well,
a little
I
bit of
can
video
I
on
tell the
that.
disaster story? Maybe that's a moral of the story. I'll tell you brief, and then I can show you. It's all like I have like a minute's worth of video. I kind of show my main setup. I don't show the actual execution, but that's a tease because I'm going to be in Denver next week, and hopefully we'll get more footage. And
Yeah, so
so,
Jeff will be
yeah,
back next week, and Marty will be off next week because Marty's going to be in a plane. Jeff,
yeah.
unfortunately, he had a family emergency this week. One of his relatives is getting surgery, so he wanted to be there, which rightfully so. I hope he doesn't mind me telling everybody that. But so that's why Jeff's not here this week, but he will be back next week. But he did tell me to tell everybody he is going to be the guest on Streaming Alchemy tomorrow with John. So
Nice.
if you guys want to tune into that at 2 p.m. tomorrow with
Yeah,
John.
and if people don't know about his group,
Mm,
John Mahoney, probably one of the nicest guys in audio, video, and production and all. The Streaming Alchemy group. I mean, that's a group you can join on Facebook. But his shows are great. I'm like you, Steven. I can rarely watch live because I have a standing production at 2 o'clock on Fridays, like podcast production. But I always try to catch the rear. But his stuff is great, always informative, and the guy is the nicest guy in the world, and highly recommend checking his stuff out. It's fantastic.
Hey, what's up, John? John Preto in the house.
John Preto, Luke.
Yeah, so there's a
Luke
lot going
Anthony.
on. So next week is going to be more of less about gear, if you will, and more about the marketing side, how to get your video, your live video production out on the web, best practices, things like that. We've got a specialist coming in. I'm very leery all the time about saying specialist, expert, things like that, because I don't know. Some people get nervous when you say that, like you're an
Right.
expert. Let's try it on Paul and Tess. Are you guys an expert in PTZ cameras? Did that make you nervous?
I hope so.
Good answer.
I feel like that.
You notice she was quick to pipe up. Of course we are.
That's right.
Up?
She
That's
was
like a
very fast.
no-brainer.
Oh,
Come
like-
on, man. So they're getting some stuff situated and ready. Either that or Paul's playing the arcade. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that's probably what
I'm
it is.
not.
That may be
I'm not
true.
sure. We'll give you a little teaser. That's for later, but I'll get off of that.
Nice.
So that's something Paul's been working on. He got bit by the arcade bug like I did, and yeah, it's addicting. You know, people that and I don't know if anybody out there has tattoos, but people say like when you get a tattoo, it's like addicting. You can't just get one; you got to get another one, and I can attest to that. But I think it's like even with these arcades, Paul, wouldn't you agree? Like when you get one, it's kind of like you got to get another one, and then you got to get another one, and you got to keep trying to collect it.
I agree. I totally agree. And now I'm, not even thinking, putting games in there. Now I'm using them as control cabinets for PTZ cameras. So
Well,
got a little off the deep end.
you know what? Multifunctional. I think that's like we've got 2 cabinets in our kids' church at the church. So if we can make it multifunctional, where it could be a streaming utility plus a game system, hey, less space takes up, right?
Yeah, really. I know. I mean, as soon as you put a camera in there in the world of IP, or sorry, a computer in there, it can do quite a lot.
So now with that bar top, did you? Maybe we should say this for a show, but did you just custom make that, or did you have it made, or did you take one and skin it?
There's a bunch of people out there who I think that use 3D printers.
Oh.
And it's basically it came, I couldn't believe it. It came in like an envelope that was like this thick.
Oh,
And it
no
was
way.
like 6 or 8 pieces of plastic that all snapped together.
Oh, so that's
So it only
plastic.
cost like $100. It's all plastic, yeah.
Is
Oh,
this an Etsy product?
Yeah.
get out.
There's
That's
a guy on Etsy from
that's
Texas.
plastic.
It's-
And you said it's $100?
yeah, I mean it's actually only like $40 just for the plastic, but it came with this this monitor too, which has an SDI input. You can
No,
believe it.
sir.
Yeah, so for $140, this little field monitor has an SDI input and HDMI input.
And then you just got custom vinyl to put on top of it.
Yeah, well they decaled it for me too.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I know.
How sturdy is it though? I mean, like if you had like actual joysticks in it, could you actually play it, or do you think it would be
No.
no?
It's meant to be. It's meant to have a little Raspberry Pi in the front, and the ports go right here. So it's meant to have like an extra joystick system.
Oh, okay. Okay. So not necessarily playing it on it. Gotcha. Hey, but still, it's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind. I need one of them up on my countertop. I'm gonna have to check. I got a big enough countertop here that I could do that on too. It's just that the company Arcade One Up, they charge like $200 for their countercade, if you will, with like 2 games on it. And I'm like, for another $100, you can get the full arcade, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. And I have coming, At Games is actually sending me their Legends cabinet, which is a full-size cabinet, which is probably going to go over there. My wife is just my daughter thinks I'm out of control. My wife goes, "Where are you going to put this stuff?" I'm like, "I don't care. I'll get rid of the furniture. I'll sell some piece couches and stuff. I'll get rid of it. I'll make room." She's like, "You're not selling the couches." I'm like, "Well."
You're gonna have to, Steven, if you don't make room.
So yeah. So that's that's what's going on there. But so that's going to be coming hopefully in another week or so, and that's going to be like 300 games. It's got Wi-Fi. It's got the ability to play Steam games over the network, and so it's going to be interesting. That's the world we live in.
It is indeed.
And Marty's just like, yeah,
You guys are hilarious.
We're nerds. This is what we do. What about you, Tess? Have
Exactly.
you ventured into buying any of these cabinets, or have you messed around with them?
No, not so much. My husband is interested in gaming, and he's purchased this vintage arcade system, tabletop system with like thousands of old school games in
there
it.
you
So we
go.
do
There
have
you
that,
go.
but it's not mine. I don't even
So she
understand how
does
it
have
works.
one.
So Paul, in other words, once her husband plays your arcades, it's all over for Tess. They're gonna have it in the house.
Could be in your kitchen, in your living room.
I don't know about that, but
She's
I
like,
think one's
no,
enough for our
no.
household.
Yeah,
One of
she's-
those weird systems.
And she's gonna be like, "You're never going over to Paul's. You're never playing his Golden Tee. You're never doing any of
Well,
that."
you have a separate area that's
Yeah, I
separate
have a
from the
game
house.
room, so it's more.
So it's not impeding on the decor or overall
Yeah, that's how I have it set up
space in
too.
your home. He's got a man cave.
Yep, that's the best way to do it. Best way to have it.
And
Is
nobody can tell you what to do.
Well, that's not entirely true because I've got couches which were our old couches because I bought her a sectional for the living room, which is what she wanted when we moved into this house. So these couches are technically mine. And I said to her, it's in the man cave. So if I want to get rid of one, why can't I get rid of them? She's like, because when the boys are down there playing games, she's like, the wives like to sit there and chit chat. I can't. I lost that one. I lost
get
that
in
one
on it.
before I started that. I mean, it was just, yeah. So, looks like the couches are staying, unfortunately. On that note, I believe it's just about time, guys, to get going here.
That
We'll
was a
get
nice
started.
tap dance.
That was a nice tap dance. Good try. This is episode 23 already, guys. So bear with us. We're gonna go dark, and we'll start this up and get things rolling here. So, see you in a little bit. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of On Social, the show that talks about everything that has to do with professional broadcasting, social media marketing, and all the good stuff that you do on the internet. And I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mr. Marty McPadden, who's back from Atlanta.
Yay! I'm back.
He survived.
I survived.
Well,
Well, barely survived. I mean, I got stories, but
you got some stories, you got some videos. You're doing better
Yep.
than the folks in California, though, because again, they are without power this week. So any of our
Yeah, yeah.
California viewers are probably not watching this week because PG&E are shutting their power down for 48 hours. So there's that. So you've had an eventful trip. You have been going out to these Verizon parties, setting these things up, and
Mhm.
you've got a story and some videos to show. And I know people are like, well, "Where's Jeff?" Jeff had a family emergency, so he's unable to be with us this week. He'll be back next week. But he did tell me to let everybody know that he will be joining John Mahoney tomorrow on the Streaming Alchemy show. So make sure you tune in at 2 p.m. here on Facebook if you want to check that out. John does a broadcasting show. If you're into getting geeky and nerdy and all that good stuff when it comes to broadcasting, check that show out. So, Marty, tell us about the nightmare that was Atlanta.
Oh my goodness. Well, we talk a lot about on this show. We've talked in the past about having backup plans and troubleshooting and making sure that you can get what you need to get done, And so just to quickly, I one of my jobs is I work with a client and we do in-house video support for parties. And this is a influencer party, and the client, the ultimate client's Verizon. And so we do these influencer parties to kind of bring awareness to the brand. So we travel the country and doing these parties. And one of my jobs is to provide the in-house video. So we do messaging on the screen. I also run a live Instagram feed, and so we have a hashtag for the party, and we have people post pictures, and we have contests where we have photo contests and we give away cameras and all that stuff. But in the past, what I've used Wirecast for my switchers to be able to get the messaging out, and usually do that off of a MacBook. This time, I brought the Wirecast gear, and I have to say that I'm just going to go to some video and kind of describe. It's about a minute long, and I'm just going to talk over it a little bit. But this is the setup here, and what I like about this, in fact, let's see. Hold on, let me just go back here. I think hold on one second. I'm going to restart this because I don't think it was at the beginning here.
Oh, you were
Okay,
scrubbing
there
through
we
it.
go. Yeah. So let me start at the beginning. That's weird. Oh no, it is at the beginning. I'm sorry. So, anyways, it's kind of Wait,
So you got
hold on.
looks like you got a little USB monitor there.
Yeah, there it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, it started. So the Wirecast gear here, and it's an all-in-one box if you're not familiar with it, and it's a switcher, and it has embedded Wirecast on it. So it was great because I can set this up, and I had the monitor on the side. I hook up my laptop, and this is where I get the Instagram feed. Okay, and nicely simplifies my setup. As you can see the whole setup there. I got the monitor inside. That monitor is just a fold-up monitor. Got the box there, keyboard, and my laptop. And from the rear, you can see, and in the back there, I have my little adapter for my USB-C. I have a couple of connections there. It's USB out on this. You see one connection there for the computer into a HDMI in, and I'm going to come back to my shot here. And that gives you kind of like a little bit of a preview. Now, the reason why I'm not showing any more is the plan was I was going to show you actually implemented. And it's great. And this is the best part of the night is the why having the Wirecast gear, because all in one, very simple setup, hook it right up. And I can actually hook up 4 different cameras. So if I want to stream, I can hook up cameras. I can bring a PTZ camera. I've done that in the past. This particular party we don't do live streaming. But it's great for that. And so I load up a playlist on Wirecast. I'm able to bring in the Instagram feed from that laptop I had hooked up, and it works great. And then I feed out a HDMI HD signal out, and then I hook up to whatever the AV company has set up, and that's where things went wrong. So lesson to everybody: we had 4 monitors set up, and a lesson for anybody doing events is you never want to do long HDMI cable runs because chances are it's not going to be strong enough signal to drive monitors. And that's exactly what we had this time. And and not really our fault. I mean, it's really the
Yeah.
AV company's fault. They know going in what they need to do and run these cables. In the past, I've had companies where they do SDI conversions or Ethernet, and that's a much better way to do it.
And you're going to
So
Denver. You're going to Denver next week, and they're using
next
SDIs,
week,
so you're going to be set with some video.
exactly. I already talked to the AV guys. They're going to use SDI converters and do the long runs with SDI cable. And SDI, you can run hundreds of feet and without signal loss. And we use a DA or distribution amplifier. And that's what I'll hook into. That's my source. And I'll hook in HDMI out of the Wirecast gear into the DA. And then the DA takes it out and distributes it out. And I think we'll have 4 monitors there. And it's a relatively simple setup. So it's not complicated. It's just the routing has to be there. But lesson of the day is you always have to have a plan B. So we had 4 monitors, and we ended up doing was I had some USB keys, and we had a couple laptops. And so luckily I was able to put the messaging in PowerPoint form and put them on USB keys, just deploy individual laptops to these monitors, hook them up via HDMI, and just put it on a looping slideshow. At least we saved the day. We got 3 of the 4 monitors working, but at least we had a plan. And the moral of the story is when you do these events, plan B, but you also have to have a good sense of humor and stay calm, because we were working right to the beginning of the event, and in the first hour of the event, we were actually working on this alternate plan to try to get this stuff working.
And this is why
client ended up being happy. What was that?
I was gonna say this is why we're bringing you guys these video clips as Marty's going, because it's one thing to do
Yes.
professional video in a studio. It's another thing to go out in the wild where you have no control over anything but the gear that you're bringing and try to do that same thing.
Yes, and normally with these parties, I do not have the advantage of doing site surveys ahead of time. The client that we work for does that, and we kind of go in kind of blind, but we do have a pretty good game plan going. And again, if you have a plan B and know that, okay, what if your distribution fails? What can you do? Can you get these individual monitors set up? Can you get the messaging set up? We weren't able to do the Instagram feed, because I needed my laptop to do the PowerPoint, so we got rid of that. But we did the next best thing, and we got the sponsor messages out there. That was the main thing.
Yep.
And we made kind of a disaster into at least salvaged it some way, So,
Yeah.
But I hope to have much more video
Cool.
in future weeks of these
Yeah.
parties, But that gives you a little teaser.
In 2 weeks when Marty's back with us again. But I want to let you know before we introduce our guests here, next week we have a social media expert that's going to be joining us, Sean Zerley from Telestream. She's going to come on and talk with us a little bit about how to promote your video, how to get it out there, what's the best ways to do it, if there's different techniques on different platforms. So look forward to that. That's coming next week. But we've got an arcade joining. I mean, no, I'm kidding. But that is something he's going to show. We've got Paul and Tess, the Stream Geeks, here with us from PTZ Optics. Welcome, guys.
Hi guys, thanks for having us.
We're
Well,
happy to be here.
it's it's great to have you guys, and I'm a bit jealous there. Oh wait, he's hiding it. Okay, never mind. He's hiding it. He's got the subscribe pillow there. Okay, I see how it is.
Oh, you're talking about this?
So what is on
There's
the
a lot to be
TV
jealous
screen?
of here. What is it?
What is on? Yeah, I know. What's on the TV screen there, Paul? Tell us a little bit. I've been wondering what
So
that is.
this is a 3D drawing of the Stream Geek Summit. I don't know if we're going to be able to show it in more detail through NDI, but essentially in 2 weeks, almost to the day, in 14 days, we're going to be having a live streaming summit. It's a full day of education for the New York City area. It's going to be in downtown New York, and we're going to have an esports tournament. In fact, Marty, you were scaring me a little bit because what we're trying to pull off here is very complicated. We've got, 20 NDI sources, 15 computers, 10 cameras.
We will be running SDI.
We will be running SDI as a backup.
Smart.
We'll have a Wirecast gear. We'll have a TriCaster. We'll have an OBS streaming system. So talking about having a backup plan.
Avoid HDMI.
We're going to be avoiding HDMI.
Well, long
I don't think there'll be much HDMI, but you were scaring me a little bit, Marty.
So this is
But
happening what, November 8th,
yeah,
2019. Now, if people are in the area, are there tickets still available, or is this online only at this point? Where are we at with this?
so I think there's like 12 tickets left. I think at the rate we're selling them, there's probably going to be some until maybe next week. But we do expect it to be sold out for in person in New York City. It's going to be 200 people, but everyone can watch for free on YouTube and Facebook. We've got some really great speakers from Microsoft, LinkedIn, Telestream, Amazon. We've got a list of awesome sponsors. It's going to be a full day of education, and we decided to stream it completely for free online. We don't want everybody out there to, not be able to get this information.
So what can people expect to learn here? I mean, what's the premise behind it? Like, what are you for people that are wanting? Maybe I should tune in. Maybe I should. What are you hoping to accomplish with this? Give us a backstory.
Sure, sure. So the panels that we are hosting are going to be by the hour. So every hour, we're bringing a new topic, and some of the topics that we are going to cover are going to be marketing your live streams, monetizing streaming, whether it's as a service or for your business. And then we're going to go over some of the major platforms like Facebook Live, YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, and more.
Cool. Sounds pretty awesome. And this is going on for 8 hours. I think that's what you said. It was like an all day event. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's going to
and
be all day.
and they're going to have some access to some devices that are just new to the market. I know you've got some cameras. We gave away one of your cameras a couple weeks ago, the webcam. I'm sure you're going to have that there, so if people want to check it out firsthand, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, I think, and one of the things I really want to do with this conference is to try to transport the audience watching online really into the space. So we're going to be using live view technology with the live view backpacks to go mobile. Obviously, we'll have really great multi-camera streaming on stage, but we're also going to have this humongous network of NDI sources, 8 esports computers, 8 webcams attached to these PTZ Optics webcams. So it's really going to be for the 200 people who are going to be there to really get their hands on and see what it's like to live stream an esports tournament, see what it's like to live
We didn't
stream a
even touch on that
conference.
portion of it.
Yeah, there's a whole esports tournament going on. And the Wirecast gear will actually be student run. And that's an important part of what Twitch, it'll be live streamed to Twitch as well. And the executives from Twitch are really excited about having students get involved because esports is really, exploding so much. So we're going to have high school level esports players, but also broadcast clubs, producers, camera operators, and on-screen talent working with the Wirecast gear to produce the esports tournament
Yeah,
live stream.
Sorry, Paul, I'm speaking up
Okay.
there. We want this to be an immersive experience for the attendees who are watching virtually as well as for in person. And we are having an esports dedicated panel. And during that time period and extended on, we're going to demonstrate a real esports tournament, a little bit smaller than your average tournament, of course. But we're really excited to make that happen and share what that experience might look like to our viewers.
I think Marty, this is something you said earlier, even with your gearbox. Paul's got the gear too, but this is something that makes it easy, right? And I think Paul, that's you wanted to go in there, you wanted to be able to set up and not have to deal. You could set up ahead of time, just go in there and plug it all in and make it work, right?
Exactly. I mean, I can flip this box around actually if you want to show
Careful
the
now.
back.
Yeah, because some of us
but-
haven't seen it yet. Some of us haven't
this-
even got hands on with it yet.
I know this is like Paul must have some connections here because this is going to be probably one of the first uses of it in the field. This is brand new stuff here.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys how clearly you guys can see that, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4 SDI inputs. We've got 4 display port outputs, and then we've got 2 up here, Stephen. There's an in and an out of SDI up here. So the nice SDI out might have saved you, Marty, because
I know,
this has
right?
got SDI right out of there.
Yeah,
That's
and
And
fantastic.
then what else does it have? Two
I
XLR
like the
ins, so that's nice
XLRs.
to go
Yeah.
left and right. So I don't think we're gonna need an external audio system for this.
I mean, honestly, that's the way to go. You got to have that built in there. Those XLRs. I've seen some other implementations done with XLRs where they hang them off the back. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. But so you're going to be doing how many NDI sources you're going to run with this thing?
Well, actually, you know what I should do is I should pull up the layout and I can show it to you guys here
That would be
because
cool.
it's pretty fun. And the interesting thing with and this is what I want to pull up here. Looks a little boring, but for anyone who's ever doing NDI sources, this is really important. And what this is I always do this when I do complicated live streams is I do the device names, their friendly names. Every NDI source can have a friendly name, right? So instead of it just being, 20x SDI PTZ optics camera, it's like left stage, right stage, center stage, and then the IP address, and then the notes of how it's being used, who's controlling it. So that way, we've got a TriCaster operator, we've got the student Wirecast operators, we've got an OBS operator. I can print this out and hand it to everybody and be like, here, our network's fully multicast enabled. Here's all the NDI sources that you need. Here's all the IP addresses to grab camera control. Go at it. You know what I mean?
That's the hope, right?
Well, we've actually tested this, and it's funny you mentioned John Mahoney. He was here actually, what, 2
Earlier
days
this week,
ago.
yeah.
He's going to be our
Great guy.
TriCaster operator, and
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I mean, with NDI 4.0 installed on every machine, it's been running smooth. They actually did a show about it on Streaming Alchemy, which was really interesting. But everything's very smooth now since 4.0. It was a little bit of a delayed release after IBC, but with the latest firmware on the cameras, the static IP address is set. A reliable router with DHCP to handle some of the devices that you haven't set static IP addresses for. I could finally honestly say that I don't have a plan. If NDI doesn't work, I don't have a plan B. That's the only thing I don't have a plan B for. But I don't feel like
Well,
it's
for the cameras,
necessary.
we will have SDI run
Yeah, for the
to each
cameras, we'll have
camera. Now, we won't
SDI
be able
anyway.
to pull the esports feed for the main broadcast and vice versa if we don't have
Yeah,
NDI.
and NDI is very
So it'll
crucial
be
with this.
important for
So
that.
we could get a huge black eye, but we've tested it all here, except for the Wirecast gear because I just got it today. But everything else has been tested. And I don't know if you've ever done a system like this, but this is the way to do it. You get a giant table with every device, every IP address. You test everything. You do all the firmware updates on every device. And we were testing it with a TriCaster and our other production system, and everything was working. So feeling pretty good about it.
See, that's I think people don't understand is like even with these big events, you have to test. We talk about it on the show a lot. We say, cross your T's, dot your I's, make sure everything is set. I want to shift gears a little bit here. I want to talk about there's a little box that you have sitting on the table there that many people might have noticed that it looks like a little bit of, well, like a retro arcade. So why don't you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about what that is and why it's sitting there in the broadcasting setup?
Yeah, I wanted to bring this little box here, and then I also have a full-size arcade cabinet that I wanted to show. But one of the things, Stephen, esports is so cool, right? There's just so many students out there getting involved in esports. I read that 70% of Americans play a video game every single day. I know you do with the amount of arcade cabinets that you have. Um, but honestly, it's striking. It's really striking how quickly esports is exploding in the industry. And quite frankly, the school systems aren't prepared, teachers aren't prepared, and parents aren't prepared. This has happened in the last decade with networked video games. It's just taken a life of its own. So I was at TwitchCon and I was talking to the guys at TwitchCon, and they said, you're doing all this live streaming with broadcast clubs and schools. Can we set up an esports tournament at the Stream Geek Summit? I said, we'd love to. So they said, well, what if we could have the live stream of the esports tournament run by students? And they said, if you pull that off, they'll put us on the homepage of Twitch because it's kind of part of their story where they want to show students getting into the esports industry itself. And they're working on helping colleges open up majors where students can go to school for esports and then get jobs in esports. So, starting at the high school level, we're thinking that broadcast clubs that are a great infrastructure to help support schools and education systems to help live stream these esports tournaments. So that's kind of the backdrop of the story. And so we came up with this as, hey, let's create some cool little camera operations scenarios that are built into, kind of fun, familiar arcade cabinets. And I've got another one over here, Michael, if we can show this. In fact, I think I can grab control right here. So this is another arcade cabinet. This is thank you for turning me on to this, Michael, or Steven, because look at that. Isn't that fun for a kid?
So
Oh, wow.
so for those that can't see, and Paul, if we can get that zoomed in so they can see the screen, I don't think they realize it's not a reflection on the screen. He actually has the PTZ camera on that screen. It's running a PC, right?
That's right. So this is a NDI studio monitor with a Windows computer inside of the cabinet. I'm still working on getting these to do things with the video production. But
That'd be
I'm
awesome.
telling you, Steven, I had a couple kids in here yesterday, and they flocked to this thing like no other. They wanted to play Street Fighter, but when I told them that, and we were live streaming a parade at the time, when I told them that they could control the camera that was on the live stream, I mean, they were all over it. And this is going to be an amazing way to get more kids involved with live streaming and video production.
So with
And
that,
showing another element for career opportunities within esports besides just being a player,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
an interesting point.
yeah, and honestly, for those looking at this and thinking, well, maybe I want to go in and modify something like that. I think the price point now, you can get them anywhere. I've seen them from $75 all the way up to $300, depending on where you would get them, what store. I know there's different ones. Very easy to modify. I mean, Paul, it very simple. I sent you some instruction videos, and you had it running. I mean, it's not hard.
Yeah, very easy to modify, and also now very easy to get decals for. So there's different companies that Steven was showing me where we can actually buy for $100 all the stickers to completely turn this into, broadcast club, Stanton, New Jersey, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
school you are. So you can get rid of maybe some of the violent, Street Fighter is not the most, unviolent game. But this one here you can see, and this was $140, totally done with all the decals and the monitor. So this whole thing here, and you can see we kind of put NDI on the side because that's powering the NDI studio monitor. Put some cool kind of student camera broadcast operator. So I'm going to have this and an arcade machine at the summit because that's kind of the story we're trying to portray. If we can show that students can operate this Wirecast gear and produce it, and students can be the camera operators, I think it really will help those folks who are maybe a little bit afraid to get into this. Hey, I mean, if the kids are doing it, now, of course, kids are very much technically apt these days. It's surprising how quickly they learn this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is something, I was just telling you about, in the pre-show a little bit and getting into this, that something I'm going to do here locally, maybe start a broadcast club at the local school, get them Wirecast, to get in that, because I was talking to somebody else that does the graphic work that we talked about here locally for me and vinyl. He's like, man, he said, when I was in school, he said, we had it and it just kind of fizzled out because nobody knows how to do it. So I think opening that door, getting these kids using software, broadcasting tools, it opens the door. And I like the way you put it, Marty. I mean, he made it appealing for the kids. Every kid knows what an arcade machine is, and they know how to work an Xbox controller, right? So having that ability.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Paul, let's real quick before we have to wrap up. We've had some questions on the show that people have asked, okay, so Paul has this really great camera with PTZ Optics, the webcam, which, comes in right around $100. Why would I need to go buy a PTZ camera when he's already given a great camera at a fraction of the price? I just think for the viewers, I think give them the reason if that's something that they're on the fence about. Why PTZ?
Well, that's a great question, and I think we have some tools on our website that can help explain it. But the webcam is a great starter product, and I'm so glad we were able to build in a lot of the features that the traditional PTZ cameras support actually into a product that's only $100 with USB 2.0. But as you can see, I mean, just look at the size of the lens on this camera. I think is bigger than the entire camera. I mean, if you think about it, and if you know anything about photography, obviously it's all about the glass, and you can see here, I mean, there's just a big chunk of glass here that really makes the optics good. But if you think about it, and Stephen, you showed this off really well in your review video. Um, Basically, this camera can capture something perfectly from 2 or 3 feet away. You know,
Hmm.
but if you have a pastor at a church that's 75 feet away, we have a camera with 30x optical zoom. They can capture them the way this would 2 feet away from 75 feet away, if that makes sense. So with optical zoom, you can zoom in to a pastor 75 feet away and get a head and shoulder shot with 30x optical zoom. This, you're not even going to be able to see the pastor as a speck of a pixel from 75 feet away. So I think it's obvious. Also, the pan, tilt, and zoom factors. If you're going to follow a sports player down a soccer field or a speaker who's walking back and forth on a stage, something you just simply can't do with a webcam. But we're really happy to have the webcam. In fact, we're going to be giving away a webcam every Friday until the end of the year on our PTZ Optics live show to get it out there because it's been really popular. A lot of people really enjoy it, and I think it's a great starter product for live streamers.
Well, and one of the things, like, we had talked about on here, PTZ cameras have really changed the game. I mean, for solo broadcasters like Marty and myself, where we're controlling everything and we're shooting everything, having the ability to control a camera, turn a camera without having a physical camera operator, I think is ideal. Because I remember when I started, Paul, all I had was like Logitech based cameras like the camera that you have, the webcams. And so if you wanted to show a product, or you wanted to show what you're doing, you had to pull it off the stand, and you had to do one of these. And meanwhile, everybody in the audience is getting seasick as you're trying to demonstrate whatever it is you're trying to demonstrate. So having PTZ now in your arsenal has really changed the game for a lot of cases.
Yeah, not to mention that the Wirecast has built-in camera control. So when people ask me what's the best way to control this PTZ camera, I always say the software that you're using.
Yep.
You don't need to leave that software. Click a button, and the camera's moving for you. So it's really easy.
Yeah,
So
I'll also add just quickly on the PTZ is especially if you're out on the road, if you want to minimize your setup, if you're gathering gear around, one PTZ camera can kind of act like 3 or 4 different cameras because of the different shots you can lock off, because you can move it, pan, tilt. You can actually save the actual position and the zoom, and then make it look like you have 3 or 4 different cameras. Especially if it's something that's taking a wide shot and maybe taking a close-up shot if you're at a conference, and then you place a couple of them and it mimics multiple cameras. So it's great like that. And like you said, Stephen, if you're a one-man band and you need to operate everything yourself, because you can switch the shots remotely, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. So it's definitely worth it, and to have something in
it's
your
been a
arsenal
game
like
changer.
that.
So if you're
Yeah.
interested, you want to go down the realm of PTZ cameras, like I said, we use them here in the studio. We love them. They work great for, especially like if you're a one-man band type thing. So make sure to check them out. Paul, any last words with the Stream Geeks conference that's coming up? How can people tune into it? Where do they need to go if they want to watch live?
So streamgeeks.us/summit is where you can learn more. You're going to want to watch on either YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. So don't forget to follow Stream Geeks on those channels to get free access to the entire main stage. And we're hoping to do some really interactive stuff. So this is for us, our 2020 plan. We're going to be showing things off that don't exist yet. We're going to be integrating with things that have barely, really scratched the surface. So a lot of innovative stuff's going to be happening from esports to LinkedIn streaming. I mean, all across the board, we're bringing together 12 different manufacturers, including Wirecast, to bring something that I think is going to be really forward thinking. So don't forget to check it out.
Awesome, awesome. And make sure you guys check it out. And you guys do a show every week. I believe it's tomorrow too, right?
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
go live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And if you want to know more about PTZ cameras, as we touched on, you can visit our website, ptzoptics.com, for more info on that. You got 2 websites to pick from today.
Well, listen, guys, I know you guys are busy trying to get everything prepared for your upcoming summit, but we really appreciate you taking the time out to come on here and talk with us about all the cool things that we got to talk about today. I'm sure the audience really got their wheels turning about different ways that they can do different things with broadcasting equipment that you kind of stepped out of the box doing with the arcade cabinets.
Yeah, thanks for your help with that, Stephen. I think it's gonna be cool. People are really gonna turn some heads. So I appreciate it. You set me on this path, and now I have to haul
Well,
this thing up to New York City, but
just
it'll be worth it.
just don't tell your wife that because I don't want to be on her hate list.
Yeah, no more Christmas cards for you, Stephen.
Yeah, we were talking in the pre-show, and I said my daughter already thinks I'm out of control with all these arcade. I got 10 of those arcade machines here in the studio area
Wow.
behind here, and one of them I have modified. It's got like 10,000 games, and I've got another one coming. And my wife's like, "What are you gonna do with it?" So just be careful, guys. That's all I'm gonna say. But Marty, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate you coming on here. We look forward to more of your travels. You got like what 6 or 7 parties coming up, man.
Yeah, I got Denver, and then probably after that, maybe New York, and maybe Chicago, maybe Miami in December. So more to come on that. But hopefully, I'll get more video of the actual setup and show you exactly how it works and how a proper setup works. So hopefully, get that in Denver.
Well, it's always good to see, professional live video on the road and see how well we can do it. So, guys, you want to stay tuned for that. And again, appreciate everybody coming out. We'll see you next week for some social tips and techniques. So you don't want to miss that. And Jeff will be back with us next week and a lot of cool things. So we're looking forward to that, guys. So stay tuned. We'll see y'all next week here on Social.